Boy, I tell you what, y'all ain't gonna believe this. I got out, well, see what I was gonna do, go get me a 2-liter Coca-Cola. Then I was gonna go out to the liquor store and get me a small bottle, just a little bitty bottle and carry around. Well, here's how I do it. I go to the McDonald's, I get me a large Coke. Then I drink some of that out. And then I got about like 5 minutes ride on my bike and then go out to the liquor store and then I get me a little bottle. When I take off, I put me a little bit in my cup. Then I ride around a little bit. But anyhow, I'm at McDonald's. And you know what I did? I said, girl, I want just a large drink to go. She goes, okay. So I went to pull money out. I left my pipe in my pocket. But it crashed through the countertop. I nonchalantly picked it up, put it back in my pocket. Then I went in my other pocket where my bills were, and guess what? You know what? My medicine was in there too. It hit the counter. I went, girl, I'm sorry about that. She goes, oh, that's okay. I got my large drink, and I got that. You know what? Out of there, and I went, I got a date Thursday night. Bullet, 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 bullet.
Is this a metal thing?
Yes. Little taste.
David, what is this?
It's pretty thick.
Great.
I have to kill a lot of people. Just tell me what you want me to fuck.
I have big tits and a tiny vagina.
Oil me up, Daddy.
I can't believe that Bryce prefers big tits. Mistletoe alert. This is backcountry.
This guy was a real jerk.
How long can Hugo be pregnant?
Chomp, 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 chomp.
Oh, you're such a dick, David.
Okay, everybody, put on your corpse handling gloves.
Ew.
Hoodie Picasso. Horror.
Bam.
What?
Bam.
What?
2-liter Coca-Cola.
Well, I'm sorry about that. You know
Bullet.
what I did? What? Yes.
Sometimes I gotta just straight up steal stuff from your mom's house.
I mean, sometimes somebody comes along who just captures your heart so thoroughly that, and usually, here at Horror Movie Talk, we celebrate the strange, the odd, the different.
Bullet.
And today is no different.
Bam.
Bleh.
Bullet.
Bleh.
Bam.
Yeah.
Bam.
Yeah.
2-liter Coca-Cola.
That man he's a special kind of guy. He's a good man.
All right, hello and welcome to Horror Movie Talk. Your panel of expert hosts are me,
Bullet.
Dr. Bryce Hanson. I hold a PhD in spookology, and across from me sits
2-liter
a
Coca-Cola.
2-liter of Coca-Cola of sweet man candy,
Oh.
David Day. He is the foremost expert in
Bam.
Let's be
new-
careful with those pronouns, though. Come on. That'd be kind of nice. All right.
All right. We review horror movies. That's what we do. When we got a great show today, we'll be reviewing a horror movie called White Noise.
I was
on
like,
Netflix.
Are you sure? I was like, Bryce, what? Bryce, are you sure this is a horror movie? And then a thing happened, and I was like,
Bullet.
and then that thing stopped happening. That scary thing that happened didn't happen again. Other kind of scary things happened, but we're just going with it, apparently. There was a Christian Bale movie on Netflix that would have sufficed.
See, that one wasn't even classified as horror, though. That was classified as a mystery.
According to IMDb, it was.
Well, I go off of what Fandango says.
Well, it's what the kids want. People are watching this movie. And, the patrons, this whole thing is
Actually, Fandango says The Pale Blue Eye is also a horror. But irregardless, we'll talk about why this is considered a horror movie, and I don't blame you if you don't agree. But
Yeah, hey, by the way, big thanks to new patrons, Taylor W., Shane M., and Eric W. Thank you guys for showing up. I was going to say, the patrons have been voting on movies for us to watch every month, but more and more non-horror movies are creeping into their votes, and it's only a matter of time. So we're just getting ready for the oncoming onslaught of reviewing movies like Small Soldiers.
a lot of them are of movies that we mention in reviews.
Right.
Like Small Soldiers, I talked about. I thought that was the movie that we were watching for Dog Soldiers.
And now we are probably going to end up watching it. Also, Biggin is voting on National Lampoon's Animal House.
Yeah, that's a kind of a non sequitur. But most of the ones that actually win are actual, horror movies. And actually, the last couple months it's been very pleasing because they've nominated some bangers.
It's true. It is true.
All right, let's get into the boilerplate. So go to our website, horrormovietalk.com. We post new episodes every Wednesday. Please subscribe and leave a review if you can. If you want to leave us a voicemail, call 682-253-4468. If you're new to the show, we start out by giving a brief review and a score for the movie. We score on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being a miserable dredge where it makes you angry, 5 being an average film that hits all the expected marks, and 10 being so good it transcends.
2 liter Coca-Cola.
And after we give our score, we'll get into spoilers and take a deeper dive into what we liked and hated about the film. And then later on, I'm excited about this new game that I came up with. With my wife when we went out on a date last week. It's called Sufferable or Insufferable. And I'll explain more once we get to it.
We score on a scale of meow to bleh.
We score on a scale of
Bleh.
to
Meow.
I love that, man. If you guys are only listening, you should know that we we have a YouTube channel, and you could have seen that intro, that fine, well-adjusted man on this whole thing is on YouTube. So head on over to our YouTube, check us out, toss us a subscribe, and be good people. And blip.
All right, so we went and saw White Noise, and in a lot of ways, I'm still watching it.
Yeah.
Meow.
Here's the trailer.
Wake up, we have to leave. 5 more minutes. No more minutes.
Okay,
Bleh.
roll film.
That stuff causes cancer in laboratory animals, in case you didn't know.
2 liter Coca-Cola.
Oh,
Either
come
I
on.
chew gum or I smoke.
What are these children, yours?
That's mine from wives 1 and 3. There's Babette's from husband 2. Wilder is ours. We're each other's 4th.
Life is good, Jack. I hope it lasts forever.
Bleh.
Let's watch a sitcom or something.
They're calling it the airborne toxic event.
It won't come this way.
Will we have to leave our home?
Of course not.
How do you know?
I just know.
Okay, what if it's dangerous?
Evacuate all places of residence.
We have a situation. All we have to do is stay out of the way.
They're passing us, Dad.
Technically, that's illegal.
Do sheep have lashes? Ask your father.
We're going sideways.
Dad, do sheep have lashes?
Doesn't anyone want to pay attention to what's actually happening? I wish there was something I could do. I wish I could outthink the problem.
There are 2 kinds of people in the world. killers and dyers. Most of us are dyers.
Right now we're safe. As long as the children are here, they need us.
Of some persistent sense of large-scale ruin, we keep inventing hope.
What?
All right. So, I mean, it seems kind of like a horror movie from the trailer a little bit, maybe.
Oh, yeah, wee! Fun and breezy, easy peasy. Well, here's the real scoop on this whole thing. Bryce made a commitment, and he wasn't going to change. He was going to stick with it.
Oh, is that what it is?
I don't know.
Well,
I'm just guessing. I'm guessing.
White Noise can be found on Netflix. It tells the story of a blended family led by Jack, played by Adam Driver, and Babette, played by Greta Gerwig, as they experience the joy and terror of academia, man-made disasters, and supermarkets. This film is categorized as a comedy drama horror. If you look on like Fandango or on Netflix, I think, or on IMDb. And to be honest, if it's one of those things, I guess it's all of them, because it doesn't quite fit into any of those. So, but kind of fits into each of them. The horror element is equally treated with black comedy and comes out mostly in the narrative of the Act 2, which is titled Airborne Toxic Event. But it's also sprinkled throughout in different scenes. However, I would forgive anyone for saying this is not really a horror movie. But again, I would ask, what is it then, if it's not that?
Yeah, I have an opinion on that. It's a part of a new trend of like meta commentary movies, where you get these movies that are just so they transcend like being pigeonholed into something. Movies like this and that Everything Everywhere All at Once. I mean, you get the kind of proto version of this in movies, kind of like the Fantastic Mr. Fox. These movies they're definitely something parading around as something else. They're like a commentary on life sort of thing.
Yeah, it's it's more of a tone poem than anything. Anyways, it's written or rather adapted to screen by Noah Baumbach, who also directed it. I associate him with his recent movies, The Marriage Story and The Meyerowitz Stories. Lots of stories in this title. But those are pretty straight-ahead character study dramas. But he also co-wrote The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou and The Fantastic Mr. Fox with Wes Anderson, which you can kind of tell in this movie because both sensibilities blend here in this adaptation of Don DeLillo's novel of the same name. The characters are acting like recognizable, normal people, but the dialogue they're speaking seems like it comes from a beat poet's fever dream, and the plot borders on the surreal. I'm still processing it, and most of it just kind of washed over me, but the main takeaway is that it matches the general vibe of the late 20th century being an uneasy pre-dystopia. I imagine I'll watch it again, and that it'll be much better with more reps, especially as you get familiar with the rapid-fire, overlapping, enigmatic dialogue. This is one of those where I was like, there's some movies that I didn't fully appreciate until after I saw them a couple times and really was able to marinate on the dialogue and the character types. Like, for example, I don't think I appreciated The Big Lebowski the first time I watched it. I was like, there was so much hype over it. Yeah, I was young, but like my friends hyped it up and like just the like especially the scenes where they're talking and overlapping each other, and they're like kind of, and like the plot is really convoluted, and then it becomes your favorite movie once you get familiar with it, and like you get to, you understand like every nuance in the whole. So yeah, I mean it's hard to score or like really come away with like what I thought about it, because again, I'm still kind of processing it. Erin really liked it. She watched it with me, and overall I think it's good. It's a unique film, and there were definitely parts that I enjoyed. I laughed at some of the dialogue, like some of the horror, the like dread comes out well. So I'd recommend it, but it's an interesting one to review on Horror Movie Talk. I give it a score of 7 out of 10, and I imagine that might go up over time if I watch it again. But right now it's more of a light recommend.
Yeah. I definitely know the lane of movie that you're talking about. Like for me, Napoleon Dynamite, the first time I saw it, I was like, what is this shit? I saw it as a kid, and then something inside me was like, yeah, and I would watch it again and again. This, though, feels
like I feel like this one, it has a lot of quotable lines that just will go right over my head, because there was some stuff that was like, did I hear that right, or what did they just say? It's such a weird thing to say, and some of them I'd write down, but by the time I get to the middle of writing down one, they said another like really weird quippy thing.
Yeah, to me this is just too precocious. This is just, and it's frustrating for a couple reasons. It's frustrating because of what I saw that Noah Baumbach could do in terms of horror, and which is, I mean, there's a part in this that really dips into some seriously dark, disturbing shit. And then it's just kept kind of light and breezy. And I understand, to an extent, I understand the metaphor or the analogy that he's going for. What with COVID, this is like the train disaster, big arch version of the COVID storyline, kind of told in retrospect or something like that. But it's just mostly frustrating because, for me, because because of what he could have done and what this was. It just felt like a lot of kind of needless commentary. Yeah, we know what we are. Okay, we get it. We're bad. People are consumers, and the virus is it's so scary, and we're all afraid of death. And yeah, I get it. I know. You know how I know that? Because I've watched 42 million horror movies. I mean, I guess it's kind of a horror movie for people who don't watch horror movies, which is much more relatable and much less in your face. But it did bother me because it just felt so fucking precocious, and it just felt like it was holding my hand and patting it and being like, David, this is how you should see reality. And it's like, that's how I do see reality. Get out of here with this. I come here for a movie. There's a little too close to home on some stuff, a little too far from the mark on other stuff. This is a big Adam Driver movie, and he's great in it. Don Cheadle's in it, and he's fine. Andre 3000, for some reason, is in it. That was another thing. It just felt...
Where was he?
He was one of the other professors. It just felt... It just felt strange. It was like, okay, but why are we doing any of this? it just was a silly thing. So I don't know. For me, I enjoyed this. Okay, it was a fine movie. It was about a 5. I don't know. It's nothing to write home about. But it is doing well on Netflix right now. And that means it must be resonating with some people. So maybe I'm not in touch with my humanity. So let me know. Let me know. Does any of that strike you?
It's perfectly understandable having that take. Like, it's definitely going to be a type of film that's going to be divisive. Like, some people are going to really like it, and some people are going to like just think it's nothing, And I think I'm leaning towards I'm kind of in between both. I'm leaning towards liking it though. And when you have kind of the commentary on like modern life and mixed in with like kind of the absurdities of modern life mixed in with the existential dread of life in general, that piques my interest. And I think there's a lot of scenes that are like really good kind of representations of the feelings that conveys that are experienced from those two kind of fears. Like it reminds me a little bit of like Douglas Adams, like the Hitchhiker's Guide. I mean, obviously that's way, way more straight ahead humor, but the irony around like bureaucracy and uncertainty and like happenstance and just being a victim to everything while having your own hang-ups about stuff is just real fertile ground for me for humor and horror. But I'd say give it a chance. I'd be curious what other people think about it. But yeah, definitely will be an interesting one to talk about. Before we talk about it though, we got to talk about
2 liter Coca-Cola.
2 liter Coca-Cola. Which is our supporters and advertisers. If you're listening to this and you just listen to some commercials, you should know that you don't have to. You can go on patreon.com and give us a few ducats to remove those pesky commercials. There you'll get access to, at some levels, commercial-free versions of our episodes with early access as soon as we edit them, as well as lots and lots of bonus content. Man, we should just calculate how many hours of bonus content there are on Patreon. It's hundreds now.
Love that idea. That's a great idea.
Just a counter of like,
and it would go that fast. It'd go tick 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 tick.
I'm sure we've got hundreds of hours of afterpods. We've got at least like 20 patron exclusive episodes for some patrons. But go ahead and check that out. Also, go to our website, horrormovietalk.com/shop, and then you can find our logo tees as well as our Team Spear, Team Bat shirts and stickers and whatnot. All designed by our resident artist, Dustin Goebel. He's a professional artist who fucks hard, so you should check him out at Instagram, at dgoebel00. That's at DGOEBEL00. And if you want to call us and be like, call us at 682-253-4468. Thanks again for listening. Let's get into spoilers.
Mayhap.
2 liter Coca-Cola. Mayhap. Mayhap.
Oh, man.
Mayhap.
Oh, yeah.
Mayhap.
Oh, yeah.
Mayhap. 2 liter Coca-Cola.
Bryce, how did you come to choose this movie?
Well, I saw it. It came out like a week or two ago. I think it came out a week ago. And it just kind of piqued my interest. You know, it looked like a disaster horror movie, kind of in the vein of Greenland or whatever. And I was kind of, and obviously it was going to be a real
kind of
indie treatment. Yeah.
Vaguely. Just didn't have the tone exactly.
Right, yeah, and that's what I was interested in. Was like I couldn't really get a handle on what they were trying to do with it, and they're kind of being vague with the trailer. So I was like, and I like Noah Baumbach, so it piqued my interest. Other than that, I really didn't know anything about it, and hadn't really heard anyone talk about it. But the fact that was classified as a horror in Fandango, and I was like, well, this is new. Let's do this.
Yeah, it felt like Baumbach's attempt. It felt like him being like, you know what movie I really like? The Dead Don't Die, and then by Jim Jarmusch, and then he like did his version of that, which is, I mean, it really looks like his version of The Dead Don't Die, which, in my opinion, is a far, far, far superior film in a lot of different ways. But that's just a taste thing, I imagine. If you were to talk to Aaron, I'm absolutely certain that this is at least more towards center mass than it is for me.
Well, I mean, a lot of my analysis watching it like broke down when I found out that it was an adaptation of a novel. Like, this was written in 1985, so a lot of my stuff was like, oh, this is like a weird commentary on COVID. And it's like, no, I mean, when I read the Wikipedia article about the novel, it's a 1-to-1 adaptation of what goes on in the novel. And I think a lot of like the style and a lot of the dialogue is just preserving the tone and the from the source material. And it's one of those where it's a postmodern novel, and kind of in that vein of, you know, surreal writing around, not writing like people talk, but writing
like how a director in the 80s thinks people talk. Like it's just like there's layers of conversation going on around the breakfast table every morning, and it's like,
yeah, I mean, it did remind me a lot of some other directors, just in the way it treated dialogue and the way it was like artificial but genuine, you know. So like it reminded me of kind of a more what would you? Well, the directors that came to mind were the Coen brothers, Wes Anderson and Robert Altman. Wes Anderson is a little more on the nose because like some of his movies were written with Noah Baumbach, and so there's definitely a similar sensibilities. Robert Altman mostly just from the overlapping dialogue where everyone's just talking over each other. And the Coen brothers, more, it's like Coen brothers are a little better about making people's dialogue seem very true to characters, and seem like, oh yeah, this person could exist, but it's also like a heightened version of a real person. But yeah, I mean, I think that's like the thing to get over is like the hardest part to parse is the dialogue and like what they're saying, because it comes so rapid fire, and what they're saying is like it's commenting on things happening, but how they're saying it is its own thing. So like, for example, they're talking about, this airborne toxic event, and this is where it feels a lot like the experience of COVID, where it's people have partial information, and then there's people that seem like they know everything, but like the opinions and the guidance change every like 5 seconds. It's like, oh, I experienced this. This is exactly what I experienced a couple years ago.
Yeah, you said something to the effect of, it seems like this was a response to COVID, but it was actually written in 1985 and yada yada. Yeah, but like this, I mean, he found this and was like, oh shit, this matches up with this reality, that this thing that just happened so perfectly. Like it is kismet that this was written in 85. It's just way before its time.
Yeah, and apparently this has been like slated for adaptation for decades. Like, I can't remember who else was attached to it, but Noah Baumbach is like the second or third director that was slated to direct this. But so it starts out, and the first half of it the first like act of it is really around Adam Driver's character and his life. He's the foremost expert in Hitler studies, a discipline that he originated, apparently. And a lot of other stuff is set up in the first act. His wife, Babette, is taking these mysterious pills called Dylar, and one of their like, what is it, 6 or 7 children like finds this out, and
4
children finds that out. But mostly it's around like academia. It starts out with Don Cheadle talking about Hollywood car crashes, which was an interesting way to talk about it, because I agree with what he was saying.
Yeah, no, the first half hour of this movie is fucking brilliant. It's nothing short of, it's exactly what you want the first half hour of your movie to be. This is a Steven Spielberg first half hour of a movie. It truly is. It sets things up. It sets things up really well. It establishes incredibly interesting characters, and it's got menace thrown in. It's got it all in a really good tight package that's interesting and hooks you for another hour and a half of just kind of just like not Steven Spielberg movie. No.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, I was kind of equally engaged throughout all of it. Like, all of it hit me about the same way, in terms of like, a lot of this seems like absurd and like just a weird take on stuff. Like, just the fact that like all the professors at this university seem like they're teaching like they're drama teachers, but they're teaching like, weird subjects, like, and chasing fame, apparently, and patting each other on the back about it. So yeah, I mean, so Jack is, he's the Hitler studies scholar, and then Don Cheadle wants to like get his level of renown by having a course on Elvis. And then there's this weird scene where they both where Don Cheadle asks him to come into his class to kind of like piggyback off of his fame somehow, and he's talking about Elvis, and then Jack is talking about Hitler, and it's overlapping, and it's this weird surreal scene. And
there's this like 3-minute moment where you're like, is Elvis Hitler?
It could have gone such a different way if Hitler had found sequins. That's all I'm saying. If he had found karate and sequins, he could be one of the world's foremost artists.
That's right.
I think. But and then like Adam Driver is like wearing these like dark sunglasses and wearing basically like a cape. It's it's cool though. I like it. It's great. It's like and the thing is like it's kind of a misdirect because I'm assuming that they're gonna do something with that, and they never really do in the story because there's some parts where Adam Driver is talking about Hitler, and then he's like standing in front of a projection of Hitler, like his face is overlaid on his, like Hitler's face is overlaid on Driver's face. And I'm assuming like, oh, how I assume this is going to go is this disaster is going to happen, and he's going to take charge and start emulating Hitler. I'm like, well, that's not what happens at all. And it's just basically showing academia being kind of obsessed with fame or pop culture and like trying to heighten stuff like this, which is true. It's kind of interesting. Like if you look at course catalogs, or I mean, I went to Portland State in, the early 2000s, and part of my like general education was this course. There was a course on pop culture, which was interesting. Just because it frames it in a highly academic way and like gives you a way to analyze pop culture from an academic lens. But as I step away from what good did that do at all?
As it turns out, if people like you and me can teach that course, it's you can put it up for free and still not do that great.
Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, I have a podcast about horror movies, and so, really, it's only been a benefit to me.
This movie felt like a bunch of cul-de-sacs, where it was like you could never get on the main road and just go and get to where you're going. Instead, the destination was the next cul-de-sac, which was the destination for the next cul-de-sac. So you'd just get in there, you'd spin around for a spin or two, you'd see all the houses, you'd see the basketball hoop over here, and then you'd continue on. And you never quite get to the end of the line. You never quite get there, but you see a lot of interesting stuff along the way. It's a bunch of slice of life shit that you would see in a neighborhood. It's just like... And it's a bunch of people reacting in human ways to scary shit that they don't understand. And then, they're sure of one thing. They're sure of this fucking thing being the absolute fucking truth right now. And then 10 minutes later, they can't remember that thing for the fucking life of them. The thing that they were preaching to you about being the absolute truth. And you're like, yeah, man, I don't know. And then 10 minutes later, they're just on to the next thing. They've forgotten entirely that it's so fucking wild. Yeah, and so there was a lot of this movie where I did my thing where I what do you call it? What do you call the thing that I do? Project. I projected myself onto all the main characters, and midway through the movie, so this airborne toxic event occurs, and it's terror, and everyone's escaping, and they have left their house too late. Everybody else has already left because the looming horrible terror is in the sky. And Carrie looks at me and she goes, "This is why I married you. This would never happen to us. You You are the canary in the coal mine, the canard, if you will. And I was like, oh yeah, that is true. Because there's as soon as shit starts popping off, there are people who are like, this is nothing, and there are other people who read deeply into it and too far into it. And I'm somewhere on the very light end of that spectrum where I'm just like, I'm out, bye, you know. I'm moving away. I'm leaving. But
you're like, I'm gonna get my
2 liter Coca-Cola
and
Miha. Yeah, no, it was yeah, but she's right though. It would never happen to us. Never.
Well, it's interesting. Yeah, I mean, no, it's a really good way of framing it. Like, there is a couple distinct cul-de-sacs of like topics or ideas that it just kind of sits on for a little while, but neither one really necessarily lead into or affect the other. And I think that is made apparent from, you know, having the title cards for each section of the story. So there's what's the first one?
I don't know. But it kind of represents like normal life under capitalism, like education. It's kind yeah.
I know the second one is the airborne toxic event. The last one is Dilarama, which is the pill. Oh, the first one is waves and radiation. Yeah, I think the first part, like, it really sets it up, and the other kind of really enigmatic part of this movie is the role that the supermarket plays.
Oh, I love this is the one part that I'm fucking so down with. This supermarket analogy or whatever this thing is, capitalism / art all melding together. I'm on board. This is the coolest part of the movie.
Yeah. This part of the first act, and then also like the credit sequence. I don't know if you watched the full credits. Like me and Aaron just let it wash over us. It was great. But they're at the supermarket, and it's this gives you this weird uneasy feeling about consumerism where it's like, this supermarket's too large, but you're not sure if it's too large or if it's actually how big a supermarket really is. But it's like a soundstage or warehouse sized supermarket that's, and I'd like to say it's stylized, but it's not. It looks just like a supermarket, you know?
It is stylized, Bryce. It is absolutely stylized. Especially, and that is put on the best display when you get that backup shot, like the roof shot of the whole place, because there's, you know, whereas the Palmolive soap would be in this section here, that's literally the space of my hands. It's taken up this much. Instead, it's multiplied by 7. So now it's as wide as I can put my hands out, and it is Palmolive as deep as the entire thing. You know, it is fully stocked, and the result is when you have 7 columns of Captain Crunch next to each other, and they're 30 boxes deep on each one of those columns, you get these color palettes that are just like, oh, whoa! It's just the most shockingly cool look, and suddenly your consumerism in your head kicks in. You're like, I want to buy those things. Like, you're like, this is a cool place. I want to go there. I want to buy the stuff. And then like you get to like sit there with your thoughts watching this, being like, oh shit, it works on me. Like, no wonder I go into there and I buy a bunch of stuff and it's too much. It's a crazy, all you have to do, as it turns out, is just magnify things 5 times. Like not a lot. Like, and then you
and just like bright colors. That's what people love. Just put bright colors in front of them. You know, there's a weird realization here. Here's an exercise that you can do of like, this is how narrow humanity is when it comes to getting attention and getting people to buy things.
2 liter Coca-Cola.
Like a 2 liter Coca-Cola. As you're driving down the road and as you pass all the fast food restaurants, ask yourself, what color palette are they using? Like, what colors, or what are the brand colors of fast food restaurants?
It's red and yellow. It's bright.
Yeah, it's red, yellow,
a little bit of white. Yeah,
maybe blue. Yeah, red, yellow, and white is like.
Yeah.
That's Burger King. That's McDonald's.
Wendy's.
That's Wendy's.
Yeah,
that's KFC.
KFC. Yeah,
it's Popeyes.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just driving down Highway 99 in my mind. I mean,
yeah, orange.
The only one that's not, that now has gone away from it is Taco Bell. They're purple now. But I don't think that's going to last long because I think, like, I mean, even you go back to like the 90s or something, and they had red and yellow in their signs. And so when you see these supermarket shots and it's like all attention grabbing colors, bright red, yellow, you know, it's crazy. And then the best part of it is, like, while they're having their dialogue, and it's all like, that's the other thing, is it's not just one person in the supermarket. It's not one character. It's the entire family, and also their entire, like, social group are all shopping together. So, like, he's talking with work colleagues as well as, like, his family. And so it's this weird, like, communal experience where this is where life happens.
That's how it is here. That is, I'm not exaggerating at all. That is like, you go to the supermarket here, this is such a small community. You meet two people who you know their name, like, and you are acquainted with them, and then you walk with them for an aisle or two, and you talk to them, and you're like, do you know where and they're like, yeah, it's over here. You know, and it reminds me of, do you remember being a kid and going to the grocery store with your mom?
Yeah, a little bit.
And dancing around the cart and being like, I want these. And, like, that is very much Americana. Like, that is a part of,
it's part of being a...
Cause I'm an island boy and I've been trying to make, I'm an island boy.
So, yeah, I mean, it's this unique thing, and my favorite part of it is while they're shopping and while everyone's kind of chattering over the intercom, is like all these announcements, and they're all just brands. And I think in this first part, it's all like shampoo brands. They're like Selsun Blue, Head and Shoulders, and it's just subtly over the top of it, and that's the only thing that's being said over the loudspeakers is just products.
But not just products, like, yeah, products, but like question mark, like it'd be like Selsun Blue. No, wait, yeah, no, Selsun Blue. Yes,
that's right. And then kind of the first part where, like, the horror comes in is Jack wakes up in bed and Babette's not next to him. And they've kind of alluded to, like, something's going on with Babette. She's been having memory problems, and they know that she's taking these pills. And so they're curious what is going on with her, whether it was, like, what's wrong with her that she's taking pills, or what is the effect of these pills having on her, and what's it doing. He wakes up, and his wife's not in bed, and then someone gets into bed next to him, but it's not her, or it's like uncertain whether it's her, and then the face is through the sheets, very reminiscent of Frighteners. Did that remind you of Frighteners at all?
Oh, sure. Yeah, it reminded me a lot of different things that do that have that effect. But this was so. I mean, this hooked Carrie and I. Like, we were like, oh, I'm so down for what this movie is going to turn into. Like, really really desiring more of this or to go further down this rabbit hole. And I'm so frustrated that it did not. It was very frustrating that it did not go that route.
Yeah, I think that's the thing is like, I think it has so many great vignettes that are just fantastic. And I wish, I think each of them, it makes you wish like, well, I wish they expanded on this and made the movie more about this. That's one of them. And then the airborne toxic event happens. So there's a big crash between a train and a truck that are both carrying, whatever chemicals, oily goop, and it explodes, sends all this toxic fumes into the air. And a lot of this is like dialogue about how they're talking about this and where it's, they're saying it's a feathery wisp. It's like, no, actually now they've changed it to a billowing plume. A billowing
plume. Well, that's good. Sure that's good. That means they're honing in on what it is.
Yeah.
They're evolving. They're
becoming more realistic about it. It's good.
What if it comes this way? It won't come this way. The wind, there's always an air mass from Canada.
Yeah, all of this was so gave me flashbacks of the early months of COVID around and just around how they're talking about it, how everything shifted, and then the guidance of oh, you're supposed to do this, and then for me it was whatever, nothing's gonna happen. It's not going to affect me, but I'll do what I need to do to, what I'm being told. And that's kind of what Adam Driver does, is he's like, we're fine. Nothing's going to happen. And then all of a sudden they have these mass, evacuation orders. And they're like, okay, all right, I guess we'll go. And a lot of kind of funny, just little touches, it introduces this idea of the evacuation with a shot of their neighbor, very Hollywood, backing out swiftly from their driveway and hitting the trash cans on the way out and screeching out, and then eventually an actual general evacuation order is given by the fire marshal or whatever, which is its own thing. But then eventually the family, the main character's family, gets out of town, and then they have the exact same shot with their car, which is backing out speedily, knocking over the garbage cans, and then screeching out. And then it pans over to the entire street, and you can see every single garbage can along the street has been knocked over as from presumably people screeching out of their driveway. And I don't know, little touches like that I love. And then they're out there, it's kind of confusion of where are we going? Why do we need to go? How in danger are we? And then the radios are giving instruction to say if you're indoors, stay indoors. You're like, well, wait, it just told us to leave, It's very familiar.
Oh man. Yeah.
Wait,
no.
we're not supposed to wear masks?
And then when they get
masks
to
don't help, and now they help? Wait, am I supposed to spray my produce when I get home? Or
oh man, and but it's so real. The way the movie presents it, it's so. The movie forgets about its own things the same way we all just fucking forgot about each step, and we're so fucking sold on the new truth of the next step. It was, that was the real fucking nutty thing about both the pandemic and this movie was how is everyone just forgetting? Why doesn't anybody want to talk about what's actually happening right now? You know, there's even a moment when they're in the car, in the river, and he's like, they're in a car in a river. Actually, they're family. And everyone's like, do sheep have eyelashes? And he's like, why doesn't anybody want to talk about the thing that's happening right now? This is so much more impressive than whether or not sheep have eyelashes. And everyone's just like, shut the fuck up. Like, what? This was the thing that drove me so fucking bonkers about where I can't even get into it. I can't even get into it without losing my fucking mind. Like, where he walks up, where they get to the camp, so fucking, yeah, thinking back on it now, I do enjoy it a little more because it's so fucking insane. They get to like a Boy Scout camp that's being used as like a FEMA facility, like an federal emergency facility to house people who have been displaced. And they're like, listen, if you've been in that fucking airborne toxic event for more than 10 seconds, you need to get in line over here. And so he does. He gets in line. He gets to the front of the line, and the guy's like, you're going to die of this. And he's like, I am? And the guy's like, yeah, we don't know when. It could be now. It could be, it could be in 70 years, but you're going to die of this. And think about that, right? It could be, we don't know when you're going to die of this, but when you die, it's going to be of this. And then that's actually what happened in the fucking pandemic, where people were dying and they were like, they died of COVID. And it's like, no, they did not. They had COVID and they died. Like, you're conflating two different things to get your numbers up, to get more money, because that's how the system works. And you need to take this vaccine. It's a 96% effectiveness rate. It's an 86% effectiveness rate. Today, it's like, it's a 46% effectiveness rate. And it's like, well, it was 46 at the start, right? Wasn't it? And they're like, we didn't know that. Why didn't you know that? There was no testing. It's like, oh, okay, well, which is it? Like, what is it? What's happening? All this fucking insanity is just constantly allowed to happen, and everybody's 100% on board the whole way through. And if you say anything against it, you're crazy. But the craziness is the craziness is the whole way through. Do you see what's happening to me right now? I'm getting psychotic.
So, yeah, I mean, one of the interesting things that felt very relevant too was one of their sons kind of became an expert on what the guidance was and the terminology and then all of a sudden he's getting a following at this camp that's listening to him because he sounds authoritative, and it's like, oh yeah, that's what happens is someone just sounds like they know what's going on, or they sound like they've heard everything about it and they know what the authoritative sources are, and so I can listen to them. And you're just the experience was represented very well. And then, yeah, the scene where they're fording the river, this is one of those where it was like, I was drawn out because, this is like whenever you see a chainsaw, David, I'm like, oh no, that's not how that will work. I mean, it's a little obvious. Obviously, they wouldn't be able to actually ford the river like that. But they're in the river, and the son's like, "Turn off the engine." I'm like, "No, don't do that." And then they get close to the edge. They're like, "Okay, turn it back on." And then they climb out. I'm like, "That's not what would happen," because from life experience, when I was younger, we took a trip to Lake Powell and backed up. For some reason, we were backing up our Acura Legend, which was probably an 85 Acura Legend or something like that. And because we took some jet skis with us, I believe, and so we were backing the trailer up, and the back end of the car, the the angle of the ramp was so slight that like the car was like the back of it was dipping into the water to the point where the exhaust was underwater, and then turn off the engine and then to like hook it up or whatever, and then turn it back on. And the fact that the exhaust was in the in the water, it like sucked it back in when the car turned on, and it blew up the engine.
Ooh.
Like the engine was on fire from that. So
from all the water inside it.
yeah, I mean, from whatever it was, something blew or something. But all I know is the engine was on fire, and that was the end of the Acura, that Acura at least. And then we had to figure out how to drive back to Washington from Utah without one of the cars that we brought. And so I think me and Kevin were in the back seat of my dad's Subaru SVX, which is
Kevin and I.
A very small car. And yeah. So, it just really drew me out. I was like, that's not how that would work.
That's not, we don't have, well, this whole movie was very dreamlike. Like,
yeah. Especially this last part, the Dial-O-Rama part where he's they eventually figure out what's going on with these pills that Babette's taking, and it turns much more into like a interpersonal drama, but also this weird thing. But also some of my favorite scenes are in this third act when he goes to his doctor. So the pandemic already happened. The thing already happened, and he goes to his doctor, and this is like probably one of my favorite scenes. Is the entire dialogue of the doctor I feel is great, and one of them that comes out is like, he's like, "Oh, I'm really worried about your potassium levels. They're off the charts." And he's like, "Well, what does that mean?" He's like, "Well, there's not any time to explain. We have true elevation and we have false elevation. That's all you need to know." You're like, what?
You have no reason to lie to me.
Like,
and then he sits there looking at him like, "You lying to me, huh?"
The entire experience of him going to the doctor and him talking about going to the doctor and saying like, "I never say the right thing with the doctors," is like, this is exactly my experience with doctors. It's like, I don't feel like I ever get any useful information. It's only worry, and I don't know how to like speak for myself. And it was like, this is good stuff, and it's very representative of that. And then just kind of the dialogue where the daughter and Jack are trying to figure out what's going on with
the best part of the whole movie was that single line.
The homework was a canard.
It's like our house just stopped in that line. I was like, what?
Yeah, and see, this is why I feel like I need to watch it again, because it took me till the third act to really get in the zone with the dialogue and like let that stuff like land, where it's like, okay, I get what they're doing now. And like all the dialogue and stuff in the third act was like, okay, this is pretty funny. I found myself chuckling more and more. Like, and like when he finds out the whole story about the Dial-R drug is Babette has a fear of death, and she got into this drug testing program where this pill is supposed to heal you from your fear of death, but there's a lot of like side effects, and so they stop doing the test, but she still wants to take it, so she gives sexual favors to one of the main people there so she can keep getting the drugs. And they talk about some of the other side effects, like one of the main ones is not being able to distinguish between words and objects or something like that. So if you said, the gun fired or something like that, you would just experience it as you're being shot at, kind of thing. And and so like this last part is Jack trying to find the source of these drugs, and then he does. And a lot of the dialogue around this, where it's like the guy that's apparently just super addicted to this drug now is talking, and I almost feel like I would love to watch all of this dialogue being delivered by Werner Herzog, because like the part where it's like there's a tacit agreement with being indoors. Being indoors means that, you entered a room that I existed in. And it's just this weird, just kind of like, why is this what we're talking about? Anyway.
Right. Yeah, no, it's kind of it feels like the opus of the book a little bit. It feels like, these are the points we've been trying to get across, kind of, although the whole story feels that way.
Like, one of the things that kind of like locked it into place with me was I read the Wikipedia article for the book, and it has a section, like a short paragraph, which is an analysis, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I mean, that's what this was. It says, White Noise explores the several themes that emerged during the mid to late 20th century, e.g. rampant consumerism, media saturation, novelty, academic intellectualism, underground conspiracies, the disintegration and reintegration of the family, human-made disasters, and the potential regenerative nature of violence. The novel style is characterized by a heterogeneity that utilizes montages of tones, styles, and voices that have the effect of yoking together terror and wild humor as the essential tone of contemporary America. I'm like, yeah, that's pretty on the nose.
That's fucking like, absolutely dead on. That is, yeah, no, that's...
So, like, this last act is like that potentially regenerative nature of violence, which is like, what does that mean? Well, just watch the movie, and then it starts making sense,
Yeah, he's like, how'd you know I was going to try and kill him? And she goes, men are killers. And it's like, oh, well, yeah, like, yeah, wow, yeah, no, that's really all you do need to say in that case. Like, it is that simple. And yeah, no, yeah, in a lot of ways, this movie really, this story really encapsulates a lot of the, I if you have listened to a decent amount of this podcast, you know about my deep desire to just fade away into the woods, to leave society. And it's because of this feeling that this movie gives you is like, oh yeah, we are way too detached from what we are as humans, and we are some sort of, I don't know, consumer. We're some sort of, like, we've entered some group of people that's way too large. Like, we were not meant to be in groups this big. We were meant to be in much, much, much more small, manageable, intimate settings. And when you get into these giant groups, it feels horrifying. Like, it's too much. And everybody has experiences that differently, but none of the effects are good, and we need things like this to, like, kind of ground us a little bit, to remember what it is that, yeah, I like it a little more now. It's maybe like a 5.5. No, it's maybe a 6.
Well, who would you recommend White Noise to?
Oh, yeah. I mean, oh, man. I mean, if you are a fan of horror movies, this is a maybe, I tell you what, if you like kind of heady stuff, if you like, social commentary kind of stuff, if you really like being put in a place of unease, Yeah, this is kind of that. It's also pretentious, you know. So, if you're an A24 fan, hey, more you than the Friday the 13th fan, who will really hate this.
Yeah, I mean it's an ambitious kind of book to adapt. Like there's. Yeah. Anyways, I'd recommend it. It's definitely like, I mean, it's on Netflix. Almost everyone has access to it, and it's something that would be a real conversation starter at the very least. Okay, so moving on, I've got a new game that I'm kind of excited about, and I'll give the kind of the background, and this will explain what we'll be doing. It's very simple. It's not really. It's kind of close to Marry Fuck Kill, but it's just either or. So I was out on a date with my wife, and I can't remember what spurred it, but I started talking about celebrities, and I asked her, like, who do you think is a celebrity that if you sat down with them or you had some happenstance to spend time with them, to hang out with them, who do you think would be insufferable? And then conversely, who would be sufferable? So
okay. Okay.
So you just like, who is like, if you actually sat down with the actor themselves,
right?
Like, who do you feel like?
Right. Yeah. Who could
it's
I?
It's a little too much.
Yeah. Who?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Who would be? It's basically who would be a good hang.
Yeah.
And who would be someone you're like, oh, this is so cringe. And so we're gonna go through some.
I love this
some
game.
Actors.
Yes, I love this game.
Well, actually, maybe first to start it out, like, who's an actor that you think would just be insufferable to hang out with?
That's a good question.
I'll start out and say Jared Leto. I feel like Jared Leto would be just an insufferable person to be around.
Okay, why?
In whatever aspect of it. And I think really what it comes down with a lot of these, and kind of the key to unlocking whether they're insufferable or not, are this like,
yeah,
connecting them with like, oh, these are drama kids. Like, this is a drama nerd that was in drama in high school, and how much has that extended throughout their life to make them insufferable?
But he's
and
Morbius.
So Jared Leto would be one of those guys. Where it'd be like,
no, I'd say that's a fair. Yeah, that's okay. Good, we've done.
You'd be like, very try-hardy, and he'd be doing something, to like make himself get attention.
Do you think?
I feel like, yeah.
But he was in all the very best movies.
Well, I mean, he was in probably, one of the top 3 favorite movies of mine, which is Requiem for a Dream.
Also Fight Club, also American Psycho, also Panic Room and Morbius.
Yeah, but everything I see about him off screen sounds like he is just an insufferable douchebag.
Fair. Okay, let's.
Who jumps to mind as an insufferable actor for you?
I can't just giving it to me like that. I can't really
that's
think
fair.
anybody.
That's fair. Okay. We'll go through a couple ones that we're good. So like here's I'll throw some lobs at you.
Okay.
Insufferable or sufferable? Jack Black.
Ooh, yeah. See, this is difficult because Jack Black tries really hard when he's put on the spot, But I feel like he's not really that way person to person. You know, I feel like he has a way different gear on a personal level. So, I mean, I could see how he would be easily insufferable on many people's lists. I just don't believe that's who he is. I think that's a thing that he puts on for people. I see a lot of myself in Jack Black. So yeah, I think I could hang.
So sufferable. Yeah, this was an easy answer for
Good
me.
hanger, bad.
I think he's sufferable. Like,
yeah,
he seems fun. Like, even like at his most.
No, but this is the best first question you could have come up with.
Right. Yeah. I mean, even at his most animated, it's not like. It feels very genuine. It feels like it's coming from
right,
like within and not being conjured. You know.
Right.
And the other. Okay. How about Anne Hathaway?
Oh, insufferable. Insufferable. Anne Hathaway. I have to look at her fucking insufferable face now. Yeah, no. Man, is she fucking gorgeous. But yeah, no, totally insufferable.
See, here's the thing. I think she's sufferable.
Ugh.
Like, on the surface.
That's because you like that. You like that movie, that Misery movie, Les Miserables.
Well, yeah, that. No, I actually like it in Love and Drugs or whatever that other movie was with
The Princess Diaries.
Oh man. Well, if you haven't seen Love and Other Drugs, do yourself a favor, David. Watch that movie.
Pendulous.
Huh?
Pendulous breasts.
Yes. Okay, so here's my first knee-jerk reaction is insufferable, because she is like the epitome of drama kid, like very much like kind of a drama nerd, a little bit of a tryhard. But I think she's actually sufferable because I think she's just a real nice, genuine person.
Oh no!
Like that.
A thing is
they can't help how insufferable they are. It's not like a put on. It's just like kind of slightly part of their personality. But I've been around a lot of these people. You know, I have a degree in vocal performance, so have a strong tolerance for try-hardy, insufferable people, and I think she would be sufferable.
As you were talking, I had a horrible thing happen to me, which is I saw this discussion for what it was. You and me talking about Anne Hathaway as being insufferable or sufferable. And suddenly I just realized we're completely insufferable.
Yes, exactly. I mean,
the worst. This is a bad look, Bryce.
This boils down fame to its essential element, which is
I get to talk about you.
Do I like this person that I know absolutely nothing about?
Right.
And gives that somehow some importance whatsoever.
Ugh.
But it's fun.
Blech.
Blech.
Blech. Mayhap.
Okay, on that vein, her star in Love and Other Drugs, Jake Gyllenhaal.
Oh, wow. Wow. You picked... Okay, so there is a YouTube clip of somebody saying, "Is that how I pronounce your name, Gyllenhaal?" And he goes, "Actually..."
Gyllenhaal.
He says, "It's Dutch." And so the correct pronunciation is Gynyenhinye. And at that point I went, No, not a cool guy. Not somebody I could hang with. One of the best actors, for sure. I fucking absolute. Nightcrawler is like Rear Window. Like it's maybe one of the best movies ever made, and will be remembered that way. But Not a guy I could hang out with.
Yeah. Okay. So this is another that's like right on the razor's edge for me, where it's like, can he hang? Like, is he a good hang or not? And I feel like I'm leaning towards Sufferable. Like, I feel like he'd actually be really interesting. I think the stuff that pushes it over the edge is if you saw him as Mr. Music in John Mulaney and the Sack Lunch Bunch, that special, whenever he does like comedic stuff, it really lands well. And like,
yeah, he's a really good actor. He's like a really good actor. Best. Yeah, he's great for sure. But yeah, no, and this is a lot. This is another interesting thing that people may not immediately pick up on about Horror Movie Talk is Bryce is much more tolerant. Like,
right. Well, I feel like Jake Gyllenhaal is like kind of the midpoint. Gyllenhaal is the midpoint of the spectrum between Jared Leto and I don't know who's on the sufferable end of that spectrum, but Jake Gyllenhaal is right at the center. Okay. Do you have one for me? It's better like back and forth.
Oh, do I have one for you?
Yeah,
okay, yeah. No, I definitely okay, so yeah, I think about this guy a lot. Jim Carrey.
Yeah. He came up in the discussion.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go pretty confidently as Insufferable.
Oh!
Yeah.
What? Oh, dude. After we watched, what's it called? This movie, White Noise.
Andy and Jim.
No,
Jim
after we watched, then I immediately just was like, Jim and Andy, this'll pick me up. Like, no, okay. So if we were talking about Jim Carrey in 1996, I would agree with you. But Jim Carrey has the most interesting personality arc of anybody I've ever seen, ever. And I feel like his arc matches my arc, in a lot of different ways. I think he's more sad than me now, but I definitely look to him and see somebody who I look up to now, who I just think very highly of. So yeah, for me, exactly Sufferable. Like he's the furthest on the line. Somebody who would want to talk about things.
Yeah, for me, like he's pretty insufferable. I think he's pretty far into the insufferable range for me because I agree, he's a very interesting dude, and like what he says is very interesting. But for me, the turning point was also Jim and Andy, but the opposite side, where it was like, oh, he's like going into this realm of a lot of self-importance around shrugging off the clothing of fame and like saying he's above it. And so and then afterwards, like a lot of the interviews where he's like on the red carpet or going to like promotional things.
Yeah, all the real deep baloney.
Yeah, he's like talking like, someone's on the red carpet. They're like, "Hey, Jim, how you doing? Are you excited to see, Sonic the Hedgehog 2 at the premiere tonight?" He's like, "This doesn't matter. Fame's nothing." And like, to me, I'm like, but you showed up. Like, you know what this is. Like, and you're commenting on what it is, but you still showed up. It's like, So to me, it's like he showed up to say that. I'm like, that is so insufferable to me.
Yeah, no.
It's like,
I mean,
if you actually saw it as
and yet you
worth
hang out
nothing,
with me. Which is it, Bryce?
I feel like, see, here's the thing. Insufferable and sufferable doesn't mean they're not super interesting and that I would want to hang out with them. It's as you're hanging out with them, how much would you internally roll your eyes at them while you're hanging out with them? Like, is it enjoyable, or is it like, this person is much weirder than I thought they were? And I feel like Jim Carrey would be one of those. Okay, here's another, I can go on forever with this, but here's some of the interesting ones that I feel are kind of.
Well, you go telling. And then I'll go, because I have one as well.
Okay, how about Jeff Goldblum?
Oh, that's a great one. I think about this a lot. So I just recently watched all the Jurassic Parks and Worlds, just back to back, just mainlined them. And it's interesting, the arc of that goes, Jurassic Park 1, fabulous. Jurassic Park 2, wow. Oh, wow. Okay, what? And then Jurassic Park 3, like, a return to form a little bit. Like, not good, not terrible. And then the Worlds do the same thing. The first one is like, it's kind of good. It's like, I mean, it's obviously no Jurassic Park, but it does the same. The second one's like, what the fuck? And then the third one's like, okay, yeah, okay. Anyway, Jeff Goldblum, I don't know that I could hang. For me, yeah, probably insufferable.
Yeah, I think this one, man, I could go back and forth on this, but I'm leaning towards sufferable.
Bryce
and I'll tell you why.
Wants to be flirted with, that's why.
Yeah, I think he's just a genuine character. And I feel like it'd be actually pretty fun to be around. And I think also, like, I have a high I think you kind of hit the nail on the head here. I have a high tolerance for insufferable people.
Yeah, yeah.
Like type A, like really, like putting it on people.
Yeah. Yes, you do.
Like I have a pretty high tolerance for that, and I feel like this would be in that zone for me where it's like I'd actually like the experience of being around a person that's so into themselves and trying to like be so much themselves in the moment that I feel like he's that way. What do you got?
Meghan Markle.
Insufferable.
Oh, how
absolutely.
could you? How
insufferable.
Could you? Bryce,
I don't know anything about her, but anything I hear about her is like, wow, what?
They canceled
an insufferable person.
Our $1 million a month security team 3 weeks before the pandemic started, and we had to buy our own security team with
off of the $500 million that we have.
Blatant racism. I've never seen it. We had to move in next to Oprah. Now, I know what you're saying. That should be less. Wait, is this more racist or less racist? It's like, okay. Okay, on the flip side of that, how about Prince Harry?
Oh man, you're getting into people that I have zero care for. Sufferable? I don't know. I've the sample size of my experience with him is so low that I don't know what kind of conclusion to draw.
Carrie just watches this stuff fucking constantly. It's like she's like, oh yeah, I gotta see what horrible narcissistic bullshit Meghan Markle's making Prince Harry do. Did you know Meghan Markle is basically Princess Diana? Did you know that, Bryce? She's wearing that on her sleeve. She's like, I am his mother. It's like, wait, what? Wait, what? You're
gross.
Oh. Okay, you go. Now you do one.
Nick Cage.
Ooh, that's a good one. I would love hanging out with Nick Cage. will
Yeah.
love it. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that one's sufferable. And again, right in the mid zone where it's like, is this the insufferable that you'll like or the insufferable that you won't like?
I would like it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one.
Here's another one. Like, I realized as we were talking about these, me and Aaron, like, almost all comedians are sufferable to me. Like, so like that's like my desire is to hang around with like comedians like Bill Hader, John Mulaney, Louis C.K. or Bill Burr. Like, any of these people sound awesome. And then finding the ones that I like, oof, I don't think I'd like to hang with them is kind of like a interesting exercise. So, like, for me, I think Bert Kreischer would be kind of insufferable. If he was with Tom, that'd be great. Like, I'd be able to also roll my eyes at Bert while experiencing him, but Bert himself is a little insufferable.
Here you go.
Chris D'Elia, I feel, would be pretty insufferable.
Yeah.
And then the on the female side was interesting too. Like, female
I don't
comedians.
Want to get into this. We shouldn't get into this.
I think also like most female comedians would be a good hang. Like Nikki Glaser.
This is why I didn't want to get into it.
Ali Wong. But then some would be like,
I don't want to. Not going there. I'm just not going there.
Well, I'll force you. You have to answer. Whitney Cummings.
No.
Sufferable or insufferable?
I don't want to. I don't want to hang out
Why?
with her.
You think you're going to get canceled or something?
No, I don't want to hang out with her. She's
you don't want to. Right.
Insufferable. Yeah, I don't want to. I want to hang out with Christina P.
Yeah.
The end. That's the end of that list. Because
That's fair.
For a number of reasons, many of which you can't understand. Mayhap. What about Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Oh.
All that positive energy coming at you?
Be insufferable. I think it would be insufferable. For me in particular, because, like, he'd be trying to, pep talk me and there'd be zero, like, common ground to talk about because...
Listen, Bryce Hanson. Oh, wait, wow, that was terrible. Bryce Hanson.
Listen to me and understand later.
Understand. This is important.
Yeah, kind of insufferable. Way too type A for me, I think. Like, way too much like, oh yeah, on the same vein, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Oh yeah, no.
Totally insufferable.
No, totally
to
insufferable, but in a different way than Arnold. I feel like I would want to hang with Arnold, and I wouldn't want to hang with Dwayne. It's just because he's happy. He's like, I don't know. So fucking smug. Yeah, it's the smugness. Maybe.
The Rock. Yeah. I think that the thing that would make that I would want to hang around Arnold with, it would be just like how successful he is and how he can just like power his way into success.
What about Tom Hanks?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Ooh. That feels like it should be way easier, right?
It
That
does
feels like I
feel
should have
that
a
way,
need-
but you know it's not. He's going to have a bunch of opinions that he knows are just so
you know
much
what?
better than
I'm
yours.
going to say sufferable. I think like Tom Hanks is who you see. And I think he's enough of a normal person.
Whoa.
But also interesting enough in
Uh-huh.
his like eccentricities to where I think it'd be really enjoyable to hang around with Tom Hanks.
What about the entire cast and crew of What's Eating Gilbert Grape? Okay, so I'm going to pose this. Johnny Depp, Juliette Lewis, Mary Steenburgen, Leonardo DiCaprio, and John C. Reilly.
Okay, let me go through this. Johnny Depp, insufferable.
No!
Juliette Lewis, insufferable.
What?
Mary Steenburgen. Insufferable just because I think she'd be kind of like polite insufferable. Like, this is when we talked about Jennifer Aniston, me and Aaron said she was insufferable, and I said she was sufferable, and I said, but she seems so nice. And she's like, no, it'd be like Midwest nice. It'd be like Midwest polite, where it's like you're acting polite, but you actually want the person to leave. That's how Jennifer Aniston would treat you. And then for me,
that's hot girls. That's
I go to
the
place that every man goes to, which is maybe there's a chance. You know, that's
well, I got good news
and I'll
for
suffer.
you.
I'll suffer for that. So Mary Steenburgen, I think, would be kind of on that scale of like, she seems like she'd be nice, but also I feel like I'd be uncomfortable around her because she wouldn't want to be there. You know, she's just being nice because she feels she has to. Leo,
Mary Steenburgen is like maybe she's maybe like the hottest older lady in Hollywood. Although not anymore. She had way too much fucking facial work done. She looks like a fucking Muppet.
Leo.
Okay, Dad. Sure thing, Dad.
He'd probably be sufferable. He seems kind of like the life of the party, but not in like a try hard way. He's kind of this generation's Jack Nicholson, which is like, no, this guy fucks, and like he knows how to have a good time. Like that's, and he knows how to have a good time in a way that like it's so overt that people are like, oh, that's just who he is, and not like, what a dick. You know.
And what about John C. Reilly?
John C. Reilly, sufferable. 100%.
Well, I would say
sufferable.
that down that whole list, sufferable. I would hang out with every single one of them and be like, yep, this is good.
Okay, here's a good one to end it. The entire cast of Friends.
Oh, completely insufferable. Completely insufferable. Every single one of them. Especially together. Can you even imagine?
Together, absolutely. But I'm thinking like separately. Like not all together, but like individually.
There's just nothing there that I want anything to do with. You know, it's not so much that they're bad. It's just that I don't like.
Not even Jen?
No.
Jennifer Aniston is the one. I think Jennifer Aniston and
look, she's beautiful, and that's I think a big difference between how you and me think about this whole thing. It's why I didn't want to answer these questions about the female comics, is because I don't care about them. Like most female comics, I just like, there's a couple that really hit it on the nose for me and I like their shit, and the rest of them I just don't like their stuff, so I don't want to, you know, I like Christina P, you know, I want to be around her, but the rest, most people I don't want to be around.
Yeah, I think, yeah, I mean, I must like a lot more female comedians than you do. I'm just much less sexist than you are. But I feel like Jennifer Aniston in particular, like she was on, was she cast on SNL for like a second? Or am I thinking of someone else?
Did you say Jennifer Aniston?
Yeah.
Cast
I feel like
on SNL? No. No, you have to be funny to be on SNL.
You don't think Jennifer Aniston's funny?
Funny enough to be cast on SNL? No. Absolutely not.
I think she was close to being cast on
This is
SNL.
turning
I
into
think
an afterpod.
I know. But regardless, I think she's got like some comedy chops, and I feel like she'd be pretty fun to hang around with. And then on the same vein, Lisa Kudrow. Like, I feel like it'd be enjoyable to hang around her.
Whoa! Check this out. Before she became a sitcom legend, Jennifer Aniston, this is from ScreenRant.com, Jennifer Aniston had the opportunity to become a cast member on Saturday Night Live, but she turned down the role. Well, shut me up.
Right. Yeah, that's what it was. Oh, she unsuccessfully auditioned in 1990. The spot was given to Julia Sweeney.
Okay, this is why you can't trust anything you read on the internet. She had an opportunity. So fucking stupid. I was right. So I was right. She couldn't. Why was I right? Because they turned her down.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's kind of weird.
She tried and failed.
One place it says she was turned down. Well, this place said she was approached for a role in SNL and then she turned it down. So, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if she auditioned and failed and then they later came back to her. They've done that with people. Like, there's people that
here's the other thing. It is no surprise. It will come as no surprise to anyone that I am angry at attractive people for being attractive.
Yes.
And so all of my, anytime I'm talking about someone in a derogatory way, it's jealousy, and I'm a big enough man to admit that. Okay, this show, can we just, this is afterpod territory.
I know. We could put this, we could go on forever with
We're
this.
giving
Is why
this
I love
away
the game.
for free.
Is this not a great conversation starter? Anyways.
It is.
All right, that's it for today, folks. Thanks for joining us for Horror Movie Talk. Please share the podcast with a friend. Support us. Go to horrormovietalk.com. There's plenty of ways that you can support us, either our Patreon or click through the Amazon link in our banner or our shop. Special thanks to our new patrons. Again, thanks to Eric W. and Shane M. for being our recent new patrons. And we'll see you next time, babies. Call us at 682-253-4468 to leave us a voicemail. And we'll see you on the flippity floppity. Bye.
We love you. Bye.
Good day, sir. Good day, sir. You lose. You get nothing.
Is that raincoat? Yes, it is.
I just took a stroll through the scraggly woods.
He had no face.
Horror.
Wow, that didn't sound good.